Before you earn $1 million, you must first think like a millionaire. Most people chase wealth outside of themselves, not realizing that the foundation of riches begins within. Imagine two people with the same opportunity. One thrives, the other struggles. What makes the difference? It's not luck, it's mindset. Today, I'll show you how to build wealth from the inside out, the way Rohn taught. Stay with me till the end, because once you understand this, you'll never see success the same way again. 1. Self-worth determines net worth. You'll never earn more than you believe you're worth. That single sentence, when truly grasped, can transform the trajectory of a person's financial and personal life. The external world, in many ways, mirrors our internal sense of deservingness. People often think that to make more money, they need to work harder, longer, or faster. But rarely do they pause to ask the deeper question, do I even believe I deserve more? Think of John, a talented designer with an eye for detail and creativity that few could rival. Yet for years, he undercharged for his services, convincing himself that clients wouldn't pay premium rates for someone like him. He looked at others in his field who seemed more successful and concluded that they were simply lucky or better connected. But the truth was subtler. They valued themselves more, and the world responded accordingly. One day, after years of quiet frustration, John decided to raise his prices. It wasn't a grand act of rebellion, but a quiet act of self-respect. He feared that his clients would leave, that he would lose everything. But something unexpected happened. Not only did his clients stay, but they also began to treat him with greater respect. They assumed that higher prices reflected higher quality. His confidence grew, and with it, his creativity and ambition. Within a year, his income doubled, not merely because he worked harder, but because his internal thermostat for worth had shifted. Your net worth will always chase your self-worth. This is not mystical thinking, it's psychological reality. People project their beliefs about themselves into the marketplace. If you subconsciously think you are undeserving of abundance, you will unconsciously sabotage opportunities. You'll hesitate to ask for raises, discount your services, or avoid situations that could elevate you, all because your self-image doesn't match your desired level of success. Ralph Waldo Emerson once wrote, "A man is what he thinks about all day long." The same applies to money and self-worth. If you spend your mental energy affirming your inadequacy, your results will match. But when you start to shift your inner dialogue to see yourself as capable, valuable, and worthy, the world begins to reorganize itself around that conviction. This doesn't mean arrogance or entitlement. It means grounding your self-belief in reality, recognizing your growth, your effort, your potential, and refusing to settle for less than you deserve. True confidence is quiet. It doesn't need validation. It comes from knowing who you are and what you bring to the table. So if you want to increase your income, start by increasing your sense of worth. Study your craft. Invest in yourself. Surround yourself with people who remind you of your potential, not your limitations. Money, like all forms of energy, flows to certainty and away from doubt. When you raise your standards internally, your external world follows suit. Your income will always rise to meet your identity. Raise one, and the other has no choice but to follow. 2. How to grow beyond limitations. Growth begins where comfort ends. Every person who has ever achieved greatness first stood at the edge of their fear and decided to step forward anyway. We often mistake comfort for safety, but in truth, comfort zones are cages, beautiful, padded, familiar, but cages nonetheless. Real progress, whether personal or professional, requires friction, uncertainty, and the willingness to fail forward. Rohn once said, "Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better." Those words hold the secret to transformation. When life presents a challenge, it's not punishing you, it's preparing you. The difficulty is the curriculum, the resistance is the training. Consider Lisa, a young professional who dreamed of leadership but had one major fear: public speaking. The mere thought of standing before an audience sent her heart racing. She declined promotions, avoided conferences, and rationalized her choices by saying she wasn't a speaker. But deep down, she knew her fear was robbing her of potential. One day, tired of watching others move ahead, she made a decision to confront the discomfort instead of escaping it. She joined a local speaking club. The first few times were humiliating. Her voice trembled, her palms sweated, her words stumbled. But with each attempt, she grew stronger. Months turned into years, and Lisa not only overcame her fear, she became a keynote speaker and an inspiring leader in her organization. Her limitation had become her launchpad. This is the paradox of growth. What feels like breaking is actually becoming. When a seed breaks open, it's not dying, it's transforming into something greater. In the same way, when life stretches you, it's not punishing you, it's expanding you. Every challenge you face, be it rejection, failure, fear, or uncertainty, is an opportunity in disguise. Growth demands humility, patience, and persistence. It's easy to compare yourself to others and feel behind, but comparison kills growth. Your only competition is who you were yesterday. When you commit to daily improvement, to reading one more page, practicing one more hour, taking one more small risk, you begin to build momentum. And that momentum compounds into mastery. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. That is the essence of growth." Your obstacles are not barriers, they are blueprints for evolution. When you stop running from discomfort and start engaging with it, you discover who you truly are. Growth is not found in ease, it is born in struggle. Every limitation you face contains a lesson, and every lesson mastered expands the boundaries of what's possible for you. Don't wish for a life without challenges. Wish for the strength to rise above them, because in the end, the person you become will be worth infinitely more than the comfort you left behind. Third, emotional intelligence in financial success. Money doesn't flow to those who panic. It flows to those who stay composed. In times of uncertainty, emotion clouds judgment, and judgment determines destiny. Financial success is not simply a matter of numbers, strategies, or opportunities. It's about psychology. The person who can master their emotions can master any circumstance. Take Mark, for instance. He once invested heavily in a startup that promised great returns. When the market shifted, he lost nearly everything. Most people would have spiraled into despair or fear-driven decisions. But Mark did something rare. He paused. He didn't let panic dictate his next move. Instead, he studied what went wrong, took responsibility for his choices, and treated the failure as a lesson rather than a loss. Within a few years, armed with better judgment and emotional steadiness, he built a thriving business that far exceeded his previous success. This story is not about luck. It's about emotional intelligence, what psychologists call EQ. EQ is the ability to recognize, understand, and regulate your emotions while also perceiving those of others. In the financial world, where fear and greed often dictate market behavior, those with high EQ stand out. They stay calm when others are reactive. They think long-term while others chase short-term gratification. When markets crash, the emotionally intelligent investor doesn't panic sell. When a client criticizes their work, the emotionally intelligent professional doesn't lash out. They listen, learn, and adapt. This composure becomes a superpower. It turns setbacks into strategy and emotion into energy. The Stoics understood this centuries ago. Epictetus taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. That principle governs both life and money. Emotional mastery is financial mastery. When you can control your impulses, delay gratification, and respond thoughtfully, rather than react impulsively, your financial stability becomes inevitable. Emotional intelligence also affects how you manage relationships, the foundation of wealth creation. People want to do business with those they trust, respect, and feel safe around. If you can empathize, communicate clearly, and maintain your integrity under pressure, you attract opportunities that money alone can't buy. Moreover, emotional control protects you from self-sabotage. How many times have brilliant people ruined their finances through fear, anger, or arrogance? They let temporary feelings dictate permanent consequences. Emotional intelligence teaches patience, the art of waiting for the right moment and acting with clarity rather than desperation. Mark's story, and countless others like it, reminds us that calm is a currency. The more composed you are, the more capable you become of making wise decisions. Wealth is not built through constant hustle, it's built through consistent clarity. Learn to observe your emotions instead of being ruled by them. Notice when fear speaks, when greed whispers, when pride blinds. Step back, breathe, and choose wisely. Because in the grand economy of life, emotional intelligence is the most valuable asset of all. Master yourself, and your financial world will follow suit. 4. Replacing fear with focus. Fear distracts, focus attracts. These two inner forces shape the way we respond to life's challenges. When Sarah lost her job, her first instinct was panic. The bills were due, her savings were thin, and the future looked uncertain. Fear whispered all the worst-case scenarios. What if she never found another job? What if she wasn't good enough? Fear thrives on imagination. It feeds on what hasn't yet happened. But Sarah decided to redirect that same mental energy toward focus. She asked herself a better question. What can I do right now with what I have? That simple shift changed everything. Instead of scrolling through job boards in despair, she spent her mornings learning new skills, updating her portfolio, and reaching out to potential clients. Within months, she had built a small freelancing business, one that gave her more freedom and fulfillment than her old job ever did. The moment she replaced fear with focus, her direction changed. Fear is not the enemy, it's just misplaced attention. It's the mind fixating on loss instead of possibility. When we allow fear to dominate our thoughts, we see only walls, but when we focus, we begin to see doors. Focus doesn't eliminate uncertainty, but it gives us something productive to hold on to. It turns anxiety into action. The Stoics often reminded themselves that fear lives in our judgments, not in reality itself. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." Fear magnifies problems by convincing us they are insurmountable. Focus, on the other hand, breaks them into steps, giving us a sense of agency. The difference between those who crumble and those who grow under pressure often comes down to where they place their attention. Consider the way a pilot handles turbulence. Fear would make him freeze, but focus makes him check his instruments, adjust his altitude, and guide the plane safely through. The turbulence doesn't stop, but his mindset does not falter. In life, our minds are the cockpit. We can either let fear take over and crash into uncertainty, or we can focus on what's within our control. Focus is a discipline. It requires training. It's choosing to channel energy into creation rather than reaction. Every time you give fear your attention, you strengthen it. Every time you give focus your attention, you weaken fear's grip. To replace fear with focus, start by recognizing the stories you tell yourself. Fear often disguises itself as logic. "I'm just being realistic," it says. But realism without hope becomes paralysis. Focus asks, what can I control, improve, or learn from this situation? It's not about ignoring fear, but converting it into fuel. The same adrenaline that fuels panic can also fuel performance when directed properly. Athletes know this. Public speakers know this. Entrepreneurs know this. They don't wait for fear to disappear. They use focus to move through it. In that movement, fear loses power. Sarah's story is not unique. It's universal. Every great turning point begins with a moment of choice. Remain in fear or move toward focus. The path of fear keeps us trapped in what might go wrong. The path of focus leads us to what we can make right. The truth is, fear cannot coexist with focus. They demand the same space in your mind. So when you feel fear rising, bring your attention back to what matters now. Fear blinds you to opportunity. Focus reveals it. One hides the road ahead, the other lights the way. 5. Becoming the person wealth is attracted to. Wealth is not pursued. It's attracted by who you become. Too many people chase money the way a shadow chases light. Always close, but never quite within reach. The irony is that true wealth begins not with possession, but with transformation. David once believed that if he worked harder, earned more, and saved more, happiness would follow. But each raise brought only temporary relief, and each success felt hollow. Eventually, he stopped chasing and started becoming. He turned his attention inward, to his habits, his values, and his growth. He learned that wealth flows toward those who have built the inner capacity to manage it. Soon, opportunities began to appear where before there had been only struggle. What changed wasn't luck, it was him. When you work harder on yourself than on your job, you become magnetic. This is not a mystical idea. It's practical psychology. People are drawn to those who radiate discipline, confidence, and clarity. Opportunities, clients, mentors, and even investors can sense it. The person who is calm under pressure, honest in chaos, and consistent in effort becomes a rare asset in any environment. Wealth, in this sense, is not a prize, it's a reflection. It mirrors the quality of your thinking, your habits, and your integrity. When your character expands, your capacity for wealth does too. David realized that money is a magnifier. It amplifies who you already are. If you are careless, more money multiplies your carelessness. If you are disciplined, more money multiplies your discipline. That's why many people win the lottery and lose it within years. They received wealth without becoming the person capable of sustaining it. The Stoics understood this deeply. Seneca once wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." True wealth begins when your sense of value is internal, not external. Once you stop chasing wealth to fill a void and instead cultivate qualities that create value, wealth begins to seek you out naturally. Becoming the person wealth is attracted to means embodying patience, gratitude, and service. It means mastering your emotions, keeping your word, and acting with purpose. Wealth flows to those who bring order to chaos, solutions to problems, and calm to conflict. If you can do those things consistently, you become indispensable. That's why personal growth is the most profitable investment you'll ever make. Every new skill learned, every good habit formed, every challenge overcome adds invisible value to your life. Eventually, the external world catches up with the internal change. There's a quiet dignity in knowing that your worth doesn't depend on your net worth. When you reach that state, wealth becomes a byproduct, not a pursuit. You attract better people, better opportunities, and better outcomes because your vibration, your character, has elevated. David didn't become rich overnight, but he became valuable, and value always finds its reward. When you stop asking, "How can I get more?" and start asking, "How can I become more?" you step into the flow of abundance. Wealth doesn't need to be chased. It will always be drawn to those prepared to hold it. Rohn once said, "You attract success by the person you become." True wealth begins within you. Build character, discipline, and vision, and money, success, and fulfillment will naturally follow. Don't just seek to have more, seek to become more. Because when you grow from the inside out, life expands in ways you never imagined.